Hello, welcome to my porch. Dee Dee's laughing at me already. It's like a dream come true. I get to interview David Daniel. I call him Dee Dee. We all call him Dee Dee at the theater. It's short for David Daniel. You made that nickname up, didn't you?
I did not. Brian Monty made it up during poker.
Oh.
Yes.
Was he winning or losing?
He always wins. He always wins. No, but he's the one who started Dee Dee, and then it took off after that.
Yeah, I don't think do I call you David unless I'm mad?
No, unless you're mad.
Yeah, exactly.
Like my mom.
Nice. Exactly whatever thing is mom. His mom. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
I had to be here, so.
You had to, yeah, it was required as a core company member to be interviewed. No one got to choose. I mean, if anybody could opt out, who would you think would want to opt
Jimmy.
out? Jimmy DeVito opt out first. Who's second, do you think?
Jim Ridge.
Jim Ridge. Jim
Yes.
Ridge sat in that very chair and cried. I know you're surprised by that. Are you going to cry?
No.
If you cried, I should get a job as an interviewer. Like.
Is that a bonus if people cry? Does that make you a better interviewer?
I think so. I mean, you unveiled something.
And if you cry, does that make me a better interviewee?
No, because I cry all the time. So
Oh,
it's not
okay.
even useful.
Well, that's true. You do cry all the time.
Not nearly as much as I used to. It's amazing how that's changed. I've hardened in my age. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to ask you is, what's your very first memory of APT?
I think it was Jimmy doing a matinee of Richard III. And a group of friends of mine, we were working at Wisconsin Shake, and we had just come up. And the only time we could see Richard was during a matinee. So Jimmy was wearing all black.
Velvet.
Yeah, black velvet, and he was the jumping spider in that show. He would just leap across the stage with his crutches. And I remember it was 103. We were just sweltering, and I was absolutely enthralled. Absolutely enthralled. I couldn't imagine a better show. We saw Cyrano that year as well. It was just absolutely breathtaking. And after Richard, I stayed after because I wanted to meet Jimmy DeVito. And I stayed after, and everybody had gone, and I was like, oh, he'll be out in a second. Okay, he'll be out in a minute. Okay, I'm waiting.
No.
And then this guy comes out and he goes, yeah, you're looking for somebody? I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for Jimmy DeVito. He played Richard III, and he's like, yeah, I'm Jimmy. No, the guy that played Richard. Yeah, it's me. Yeah,
oh my God.
I was completely taken off guard. I mean, Jimmy's not, we all joke about his height. Jimmy's not short, but he was 50 feet tall in that show, and he was hunched over.
Oh, right.
And he was 50 feet tall. He was bigger than the world. Mm. Yeah, that was my...
I didn't know that.
That was my first.
Your first show.
That was the first one. Yep.
I went backstage during that. That was a really hot summer. And I went backstage one time with Gail. He was really little at the time, and he was baby. And I was trying to find Jimmy, and someone said he's in the bathroom. And Jim Ridge, I think, came out and he said, "No, he was laying on the cement back there."
Yeah.
They were putting cold towels on him because that hump was so hot. The whole costume was hot. And it was 100 degrees out. And I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing? I mean, what exactly are we doing with our lives now?
Well, I tell you what, I sure knew exactly what we were doing when I watched that show.
That's nice.
I knew.
So when did you know you wanted to work here?
It was actually, I was in South Carolina, and I came across a book called Great Hamlets, Modern Hamlets and Their Soliloquies. And in that, each chapter was divided into a great actor doing Hamlet. And each actor talked about each soliloquy in turn. And one of them was Randall Duck Kim. And the way he talked about Shakespeare, they all talked about Shakespeare, and these were great actors, and I loved reading all of them. But there was something about Randy's chapter that just grabbed me. And he talked about this theater that he had founded in Wisconsin. And I was like, Wisconsin, is that a city in Minnesota? I think it's a city in Minnesota.
Wait,
Minnesota's got many cities.
Where were you from?
Well, I'm from Virginia.
Virginia, so
Yeah.
Virginia, you know.
But I was living in
it's
South
one of those-
Carolina, so it's like, so I was like, I think Wisconsin is a city in Minnesota. And so I found out all kinds of things about it. And at that
How old were you?
Well, I was out of the service by then, and I had been about 3 or 4 years on my own. So I think about 24, 5 maybe. And that year I was working with Jack Young. You know Jack Young?
Yeah, I do.
I was working with Jack Young, and he found me as a young scrapper and kind of knocked some sense into me. And he said, well, you need to find a grad school. And I don't have an undergraduate degree. And he said, there are only a couple of places that'll take you, and you should audition for this place called the University of Delaware. So I finished doing a matinee of Hamlet, and I drove up, because I had to audition the next day, and I drove up from South Carolina to Delaware, and there was a truck stop where I showered and changed, and then I drove
Oh yeah,
to the university.
I've been there.
And I drove to the university, and I didn't have the information on where
I'm surprised.
because
I'm so surprised that you went somewhere without the information.
yeah, I kind of just was going to figure that it would be the parking lot with all the cars in it, which is rare at a university. So I was driving around, and finally I had to call somebody, and then the only person who answered was this woman named Sandy. And he picked up and answered, and he's like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm by a bridge. There's a
my
bridge.
gosh.
So he had this beat up car. He was the head of the program. And he picked me up and took me, and we were auditioning. And he asked me some really great questions, and I knew this was the program for me. But skip to a year later, I was at the program, I was training, and I was in the lobby, and they had pictures of all their graduates. And it's so great to see these pictures. First of all, they're theatrical as hell. I love the pictures.
Yeah, they're great.
And you just look, and you're youngish at that time, and I'm looking like, these are the superstars. These are the people I want to be. And I looking and read it and kept saying American Players Theater, American Players Theater, American Players Theater, American Players Theater, American Players Theater. And I was like, this is that place that Randy Kim was talking about. I want to work at this place. This is the place I want to work. I don't want to work anywhere else. I want to work here. And I think a couple months later, David came in to audition, and I auditioned. I was like, really love the program. David was like,
Thank you.
yeah. And then the next year, you came in, you auditioned. I was like, and you were like, yeah. And I think it took me 3 years. It was my third audition, and that was Midsummer Night's Dream. Mm-hmm. And I think it was Paul Barnes who was like, no, this one. And you were like,
I don't think.
yeah, it was. No, he's loud.
No.
He's loud. So I absolutely love this place. Okay, this is a dream come true. And I was like, this is the place where art happens, plays happen here. And so I got hired, and I was just like, oh, and I wanted to work here. And the first person I saw here was Deb Staples. And I was like, are you kidding me? It's Deb Staples. I'm meeting Deb. Hello, Mrs. Staples. It's a very pleasure to meet you. I saw you in Troilus and Cressida in Chicago. You were fantastic. It really caught me play. Oh my gosh. And then I saw you in Cyrano. You were really, you're just an incredible powerhouse on the stage. Oh, she was like, oh, thank you so much. You're welcome. And I got in there, and I was like, okay, here we are. We're ready to read through. And this time we were doing our reads at the Taliesin place.
Oh, the Wintergreen.
The Wintergreen.
Gosh, right.
So we were all around the table on meeting these, for me, being a classical geek, I called them the titans of the classical theater. There's Mark Corkins and Jonathan Smoots, and there's Jimmy DeVita, and there's a guy called Jim Ridge, and there was like all these titans. Lord Birmingham, and and there's Sergei, all these people. There's Lee. I was like, okay, I gotta make a good impression. So I'm playing Demetrius, making a good impression. And I'm like, my lord, this is just first read. My lord, Demetrius, stand forth. Demetrius, speak. My lord, you do not. I mean, I had to make sure that everybody knew that I could handle the outdoor stage. I had to make sure that everyone knew that I was making choices, that I was going to be brave and bold. Basically, the rest of them was like, oh my God, okay, geez, dude, tone it down. I didn't know that at the time because they're all very graceful. Most of them were very graceful, except for one guy named Jim Ridge. Later on in the play, Puck pretends to be Lysander and Demetrius. So in our read-through, in our first read-through, as I'm trying to make a good impression on everybody, Puck says, I shall imitate them. And he goes, Lysander, come, Lysander, you coward. And I was like, is that guy making fun of me?
You knew
Is
you were
he
in.
mocking me?
You knew you were in.
It's like,
But what did
never
it mean?
work at this place again.
No, it means that he knew you. I mean, he could see you how much you wanted it.
Oh, he could see. He could see.
And that's the thing about you, Dee Dee. I mean, that the thing that enters the room first is the kind of energy like I want this. So it's hard. And I've said this to you since I've known
You have,
like,
yes,
how
you
do I
have.
get to you? Like, how
Yep.
do I get to you? Because you are a great actor.
Yeah, because people think there's something behind all of that. There's really just that.
Such a lie. It's such a lie. And the rare occasions that you get to you, but more and more as you've gotten older, more and more you're less. Well, you are. I used to call you. You used to butt act a lot. I told
Yeah,
you that.
actually, Jack Young called it searchlight because back then it was the front that got like shown on people. Like,
Oh.
I'm talking to you now, and now I'm talking to you.
But you would like, yeah. So it must have transferred to the back part of your body.
Yeah.
Because I think it was the Devil's Disciple.
Butt acting.
There's a lot of butt acting. In
Yes.
that. But you're indelible. You never forget you on stage. I mean, I've said this to you.
Oh, it's
numerous
that
times.
guy.
No,
Yeah.
the train's coming. Should we keep talking? You had to take a little break because we had to turn down David's microphone because we couldn't hear the train over David's voice.
Yeah.
No, we were just having a really good conversation about what you thought like acting was at that point.
Yeah. Right.
And acting is that. I mean, what you want is someone who understands that acting is that, as well as what you have started in the last 20 years to incorporate in your acting. Mm-hmm. And how would you talk about that? What would you call that?
Well, so certainly when I got here, I thought acting was about repetition, like being exact. And I remember I had so many pages of scripts of mine were orchestrated down to the half breath and the turn of a wrist and the half turn of a head, the difference between an eighth of a turn and a quarter of a turn, and everything was marked out. And I really made it my job to repeat everything every night the exact same way to make sure that the director got exactly what they were looking for. I tried to be as free as I could in the room, but to make sure that the end result was repeated every time. And then I started watching Jimmy.
Oh my God.
And I remember there was one rehearsal. It was probably, it was probably his Leontes. And it was a tech, and James Bonin said, well, we're just going to light the stage because we don't know where Jimmy's going to go. And I was like, now wait a minute, because I thought we were supposed to know where we were going to go.
Lighting designers want to know
Poor
where
Peterson.
the actors are going to be. It's helpful for everybody involved in the play, just for the record.
And it's not that, Jimmy was a wild card. It's not that he was a wild card, but that he was at that place for himself where he was allowing whatever naturally and organically happened in that moment, because he had created that moment, but whatever happened in that moment to take him. And he and James had that agreement as a director and the stage manager and the lighting designer. They all had agreed on that. It wasn't reckless, but it was organic. And I was like, oh, well, what is that world like? And ever since then, I have been working with that to the point where now some people are like, you don't know what's going to happen when he's out there, because that guy is just going to do some stuff, okay?
You are
that guy,
absolutely a loose cannon on stage.
James Bonin was like, I don't know, just let Dee Dee do something. We'll just put him out on stage, let him do something.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like, what is this, Jonathan Winters? It's like, I don't know, let him on stage. He'll do something.
No, what you have is, I call it, I joke with you when I finally got to direct you, because I was afraid to direct you a little bit, that you were, it's like you give you a note and it's like, and it's out, and it's way out. I mean, there's no bass hit with you. So it's a gift to directors, because you can't ever, like, I remember a coach said to me about Gail, like, Gail has that, like, as an athlete, and he was like, it's better to put some water on a fire than to try to build a fire. Like, rather douse a fire than try to start one. And I always felt that way about you, that there was always a fire going. And a joke about you that there's like 19 ideas before breakfast. What's the line from Alice in Wonderland? Like, I don't know, something like
Yeah, something like that. Yes,
like 8
that's
ideas
right.
before breakfast or something like that. That's what you've always reminded me of. John Lang said when he worked here the second time, I asked him to work the second time, like after he had done his first show with us, which was Our Wilderness, right? Or Miss Alliance.
No, Miss Alliance, yeah.
And I asked him to come back and do Our Wilderness, and he said, because he was young, you know, younger than a lot of the actors, and I said, he said, I love this place. It's like walking through fire working there. And I was so taken aback for a second, like, what is he saying? Why is he saying that? Oh, we got lots of noises tonight. What do you think he meant by that?
Well,
what do you think?
I can't speak from the director's standpoint, but I know that a lot of directors feel intimidated not in a bad way, but that I don't know. As a director, you direct things, you guide things, you set the point of destination for a play. And here at APT, it's such an ensemble experience, and no one tries to steal that power from a director, but there's a lot of input. There's a lot of, and no one's demanding. No one's demanding like it has to be this way. It's just people like, we could do this and this and this. This is also an option. And I bet for a director, especially a director who's not solid in their own bones.
Mm-hmm. A young director.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's not solid in their own bones to know what they want or to hear 100 opinions and still know that theirs is still the one that they want to go with. Mm-hmm. You know, that I imagine that it's, because fire is dangerous and it's strong and it's bright and it's there and it's what you want. It's just there's so much of it. How do you control that?
And how do you maintain, I mean, you're in charge of the vision of a piece.
Yes.
It's actually your responsibility because actors will have great ideas, but they can't see themselves
Right.
or the people around them.
Right.
And most great actors have a sense of the play.
Mm-hmm.
And after you've done the play a couple times,
Mm-hmm.
you have a larger sense of the play.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that director starts off with that larger sense of the play at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the actors tend to have their slice of the play. You don't understand. The second servant is the key of this scene. They're the key. And then you say, I'm just playing the second servant. And then the director goes, the second servant is the key of this scene.
But
the scene doesn't work without the
It's a
second.
pretty amazing director who can encompass all of those people and seamlessly. Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's the kind of directors that will make everyone in the room feel good about being in the room. Mm-hmm. And that's a wonderful kind of director. Mm-hmm. I have my vision, here's the way I want to do the play, and everybody come on board with me. That's a kind of director. And then certainly we have the directors who are like, here's my way or the highway. And then you have those. We don't get those at APT. But then you have the director who's like, I don't know where this is going to go. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I need you all to put in. And somebody gives you 3 ideas over here and 2 ideas and 5 ideas. And you're like, that one and none of those and one of that one. Let's pull this. That they take the resources that are available into this room. Because you have a bunch of actors who have lots of ideas. Right. What they need is guidance.
Right.
So that's what makes a really...
And how someone takes somebody's... Yeah, it's a very complicated
equation.
Because how someone takes being rejected, none of those.
Yeah.
That's a skillful person who can keep the room together while you're picking and choosing. Yeah, yep. I think that he was also, he has such a sense of authenticity. And he understands that space and the context of the plays and the history here. But he also is very, very interested in truth.
Right.
And
yeah, very.
Very. And that's why his work, I think, is so great. But I think that kind of like, how much do you give up your truth, your idea of truth, to do what we do at this state, Yeah,
and so as an actor, when you're working and you've got 5 different directors, there are 5 or 3, I suppose, for most seasons. There are 3 different styles of truth. Everybody wants truth. But John, I remember one season early on working with John, who I thought, I think all directors hate me, of course. All actors think all directors hate them. And John is about this space between two actors.
Yeah.
I want the space here to be fired up with what you're giving. And some actors are like, I need to see it. Some directors, I need to see it land on you. I need to be over there with you. So you would be here with one director, and then you go to another director, and the director's like, why is it over there? I don't want to see it on you. I want to see it out there with the audience. Put it out there. Yeah. And you're like, okay, I got to, then you find that gear where you're like, this is truth for this director, and this is truth for that director, and this is truth for the lighting designer. It's like you're balancing all of those things to find that truth.
Well, and this is truth in Comedy of Errors, and this is truth in
That's right.
Death of a Salesman.
That's right.
Those are different truths as well. What are you most proud of? In your work or at APT or with APT or?
Oh. Most proud of? I don't know. I have no idea. I am not proud.
What's the?
What's
that one?
I was trying to think of what I'm not proud of.
No. What are you proud of? I'm asking you. What are you proud of? I'm demanding you tell me something you're proud of.
Okay. Something that I am proud of is different than what I'm most proud of because I really can't think of anything. I have so much angst, and most actors do, about all those roles that they played and they didn't. That's
not what I'm talking about.
Didn't do it justice. I know. So
you're proud of.
Everything. Everything. I can't listen. To do Curate Troy with David.
Yes.
Fantastic. To do Much Ado with David is fantastic. Not only because I love that role so much, and I'm going to do it 2 or 3 more times before the end of it. Not only because I love that role so much, not only because I loved David's idea of it, and I get to work with my best friends in the playing of it, and I'm working with this audience. I love this audience. I love it. I love all of that about it. I love all of it about it. And I love doing Cyrano, to hold Jim Ridge every night for him to do the dying speech. One of the best experiences I ever had in theater was doing Iago, doing Othello when Jimmy was playing Iago. And we were there, and they bring in, he's shackled, and I got to bring in Jimmy DeVita, and he's shackled. I'm playing one of the guards. And the prince says, look and see what you've done. And Jimmy looks his head up like that. And I remember, it's a guard in rehearsal. I was just like, don't you look away and I grabbed him by the back of his jerkin, and I shoved his face down on the bed. But the director didn't tell me to do that. I was just like, don't look away, don't look.
That's good.
And I was just like, oh, is that what the thing they're talking about? Like being alive in the moment and doing it? Because I just grabbed Jimmy DeVita and shoved his face in the bed. I don't know if I was supposed to do that.
That's your proudest moment, shoving his face in the bed. That's a good proud moment. I take that.
It's again, the most is the hardest part. Somebody told me a story once about Jimmy. And no, because this story is true of me in 1,000 ways, and to name any one of them would not to be named the other 999.
Because you didn't talk about my play.
That's right.
That's right.
So, when Jimmy was playing Romeo, he hid, and while he was hiding, he looked over at someone in the audience, and he gave them a wink. And that young lady, she was in her teens when she saw it, and then she was older when she was talking to me about it, and she never forgot it.
Oh, wow.
And there are 1,000 moments like that I have.
Yeah,
and to name one is to not name the others, and I don't want to do that. But I can't think of a greater honor than to be included in someone's life like that. Mm-hmm. Whatever moment that is for them.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever,
and you give a lot of those moments to the audience. I mean,
well,
you do. You give tons of those moments. I mean, sometimes when no one expects it, and I think that your complete being from the moment you hit the stage till you walk down the hill is about giving to that audience. I mean, that is 100 and. I mean, you want to be seen. You want to see. I mean, that's what I see. And I think that's a great thing for an actor to want to be seen. Because you're inspiring other people to want to do that. Not just the actors in the show, but the people in the audience. I mean, it's it's a performance. I mean, you perform, and it's full body experience. We joke about acting and stuff like that, but it's a full body experience, and it's unlike. It's a force. It's a force we reckon with, and I just am one of my greatest joys is watching how brilliant you've been, how brilliant you've gotten, how someone hands you something and it's like it could be challenging, and you will never give up, and you always succeed, always.
Oh, well, thank you for saying so. I don't know, but thank you.
I mean, I can't think of a role that you haven't.
I can think of a couple that I would like.
Maybe early on. Maybe early on. But I think, so what are you least proud of?
Well, it's just, it's
Or
missed opportunities.
Do-over. What would you like to do?
Everything. Everything.
Pick one. Pick one. That role that you'd like to get into the show. You said Benedict 3 more times or something, but.
Yeah. It's even something like Demetrius. I remember the last time we did it, who was John directed that, and it was, Steve.
Oh, no.
There was the two.
Nate.
That's right, Nate did it. But Steve was the time before, and I was in the mechanicals for that.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
yeah.
It was the first time I had ever. Well, I'd certainly been in plays where I wasn't playing the role that I had played before. I've been Midsummer 11 times now, 11 times. And so the last time we had done, this is what it was. Because the last time we had done Midsummer at APT, I was in it. I played Demetrius. And then this was 7, 8 years later, and now Steve was playing Demetrius. And I remember sitting at the read-through, and he started, and I was like, oh, that's the way you do, oh, of course. And then John Lang's the last production where he was, I am your dog, I'm your spaniel, spurn me, Demetrius. And I was watching that scene, I was like, oh, that's the way you do that. And it's just like, if I had known that, I would have, that's so good. You've solved so many problems with that.
Oh my gosh.
So every time we do a play, again, that I've done, I just go like, you have nailed the problem that I had with that.
And people, that's the thing about you guys watching each other's work all the time, though. And people feel that way when they're watching you. I mean, all the guys who played Benedict watching your Benedict, I know that they were like, oh, shit. I think that's one of the glories of revisiting these plays and having company of people.
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
As long as you're like, everybody's keep working on being better.
Yeah, yep.
I mean, that has to be a thing when you're stepping into roles other people have played that you've admired. You
remember when it was like we were talking about As You Like It, As You Like It to Go.
Right.
And you were like, why don't you play Touchstone? I was like, nope, not gonna, nope, not gonna do it. Jim Ridge hinted it perfect. There was nothing more I can add to that. I am not gonna touch Touchstone.
It's like Malvolio too.
I was like, why am I always following Jim Ridge? Why do I have to follow? Let me follow like Nate. Nobody likes Nate. I'll follow Nate, okay? Because Nate's just, he's Nate. Everybody's just go, Nate. Jim Ridge is like, Jim Ridge. I'm like, why do I have to follow Nate?
Your Malvolio was wonderful.
Thank you. But it's like, I was terrified because it was like, those roles, like me, is not as an actor, but just as a person, watching him play Touchstone and then watching him play Malvolio.
Touchstone was genius.
Where he turned.
But they were completely.
They were very different. But where Jim Ridge turned and said, I am happy. I remember I just started crying because it's like, you've never been happy before and you're really happy and they're playing a trick on you. Oh, my heart broke.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
And then you told me what I was doing. I was like, no, I don't want to. Not after Jim Ridge did it.
You did a brilliant job. It was a completely different production.
Of course it was, but still.
I know, it's really,
it's hard.
It's
hard.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because you just hire really good people here.
I know, you're one of those people.
If it's Jimmy, it's no problem, because I was like, I can do it better than Jimmy can do it. But
all those roles. Well, you did Hotspur. Oh, he never did Hotspur here. What did you, you've done some of his roles, haven't you? How has APT changed you as a person? Not your skills, as a person. Like, as a person for real. I'm not going to take bullshit answer.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, what has happened to me since I've been at APT? It's my first real professional theater job, consistent. I got married here. I have children here. I have friends here. I have learned so much about my art, about parenthood, about friendship, about God and community. There is no part of me that APT hasn't affected. There's no part of me. When I got married in the courthouse on Memorial Weekend, in the courthouse in Baraboo that had just locked their doors, and we had to knock on the door to we were late.
For that too.
It was late for my marriage.
There
was a lot of traffic coming out of Chicago. I didn't think that holiday traffic was a thing. So when we got married and I had rehearsal that afternoon, and I came down, I remember I was passing Roseanne. I was running up the hill. She was like, "Hey, how you doing?" I was like, "I'm pretty good. I just got married." I ran up the hill to rehearsal. And my wife and I spent our honeymoon in the Motel 6 in Dodgeville. And she dropped me off for rehearsal, and she went to the grocery store to get some things. And by the time she got to the hotel at Motel 6, there was a bouquet of fruit and flowers waiting for us. How does that happen? You know? This is an organization that makes things happen for people. We do plays here, but life happens here. There's no part of me that hasn't been affected by APT. And you are kind of at the center of every one of those events.
Oh.
Yeah, of course you are.
But
You're at the center of all of those events. I mean, my greatest achievements, the loss of my father, my greatest, the suffering that I went through and all of that, and then the suffering that all of our friends go through, and it's the community that we've built. It's amazing. It's amazing. There's no part of me that hasn't been affected. I've learned what fatherhood is because Jimmy talked to me. He was like, God, Gail. Now Sophia, she's wonderful. Gail, and I was like, oh, is that what it is? And Jim Ridge is like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to be a father. What is fatherhood? And well, how do you be a husband? Well, I don't know. My wife's driving me crazy. All of that.
Yeah.
All of that.
You're a good citizen, though. You sign up to be a good citizen. It took me almost 23 years to get you to stop saying ma'am to me. I mean, I was a young person and you called me ma'am. And I had never been called ma'am, and you did it regularly. And sometimes it would not feel like a compliment. It would feel like, yes, ma'am. Like, you're in charge. I'm not sure why. But you were always, they may not know this, but we started one year, I was thinking about how so many incredible people work here and go above and beyond, for no reason other than they're just good people. And Dee Dee was always that guy. We call it the guy who will take the dead body off the stage. When no one else wants to carry the dead body, it's going to weigh someone's going to have to pretend like they're dead. They're going to be a load of weight, no matter how small they are, and nobody wants to pick up that dead body. So it's a joke, but Dee Dee, I got it. I got him. I got you. I'll pick you up and carry you off, no matter how big the person was. And we joke about that. He's the guy that's carrying the stuff to the car for you. He's the guy opening the door. He's the guy running back to get the thing. He's running back up the hill because somebody forgot something. The stage management. That's Dee Dee. So we created it, but it was so indicative.
Yes.
Of the
whole organization.
Of everyone that worked here. So we started a thing one year in your honor, and we called it the David Daniel Award, and we give it every year, and it is the biggest. It's the biggest honor.
Yep.
How's that feel?
Awful.
Why?
Because the company, Bill DeWell was the second. And I was like, they should be called the Bill DeWell Award. I mean, who has won that award that it shouldn't be named after?
That's great. That's what we need. We need to start. And
it's
you're out there. But you're like, oh, David Daniel, I got the door. I mean, always. It's the way you roll. What do you wish for APT's future?
Integrity. I'm sure we're going to grow and change. All organizations grow and change. This is not the theater that Randy envisioned, and it's not the theater David envisioned, and soon it won't be the theater you envisioned. It's just going to always grow and change. But I hope that we have integrity about who we are and how we do things as an organization, on stage and off. That those things, however, whatever our playlist happens to be, whatever style of acting we do, and if we move indoors, all indoor seasons, we give up our, whatever, wherever life takes us. But I hope the integrity and the commitment to the art that we create and the commitment to the people that create that art. That's what I hope carries through for a million years after.
Yeah, always. It's just too hard otherwise.
Yeah.
It's just
Nothing else is really
hard
worth
anyway,
it.
but it'd be impossible if we didn't help each other.
Yeah.
So we're institution all about the words, right? We love words. You love words. You are a word guy, right? We had Colleen there last night. She's lots of words. I love you, Colleen. I'm joking. But,
She doesn't love you.
Okay. What's your favorite word?
I think my favorite word I found out when I was maybe in 7th grade. Remember, I was at summer camp and I told like 12 people, and they all looked at me like, okay. And I was like, no, really, this word, listen to this word. And they were like, yeah, I kind of heard it.
What kind of camp was
The
this?
12, it was like the Kumbaya. It was literally called Kumbaya. Yeah, it was one of those camps. And it was great. It was wonderful. My first kiss. And
Your first kiss?
yeah,
Who would you
at
kiss?
camp.
Who?
What kind of video is
Come on,
this?
tell me who you kissed.
No. So anyway,
was her
I've
name?
always loved the word. I still love it today.
Bad. She's not
I still love the word today. And that word is equipment. I just love it. It's not for what it means. I just love saying it, and I love the sounds of the word equipment. I don't know. That's what everybody was like, okay, I got it. It's a kind of a fancy word.
We've had a lot of words in that chair. We have not had equipment.
I like the way my
Equipment.
mouth feels. I like the way it sounds when it's like equipment. And I like that when you say it on a microphone, because when I do microphone checks, when I do a commercial or something, I always go, I'll say it as low as I can, and I can just hear and I'm like, ooh, that
Susan
sounds.
would be so proud of you.
I like that word, equipment.
Impressive.
I know everybody else is like integrity, love, friendship,
Guess what? Jay,
fraternity.
what's his word?
What did he say?
No, what do you think? I'll give you 5 guesses.
Faith,
Nope.
family,
Nope. Begins with a G.
good barbecue. What? I don't know.
Grace.
Grace.
You
See,
would've gotten
he
there.
went classy.
He was all classy.
He was all classy. I
said
said
equipment.
equipment because it sounds funny in my mouth.
Okay, that's hilarious. So what's your least favorite word?
Shut up. I know it's a phrase.
Mm-hmm. It's so much, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so, I like it least for the same reasons I like equipment, because it's like, I like the way it sounds in my mouth and the way it places in my, but shut up is just like, the way I have to shut up. It's like the way my face, and you can say shut up like that.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, of course.
I'm sorry.
Lots of people do. Lots of people do.
Now that you're
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
that, I should really watch that.
But when people,
up.
yeah, it's like, it's the sounds of it and it's the intent of it,
Yeah, it's a terrible word.
No, it's not. It
is
really
like-
isn't about anyone else. It
No,
really
no,
is.
no,
I just
no.
don't like that.
No, no,
I don't
but
like that word.
I don't like that. I mean, that's when I hear people say that to each other. Real. It's one of the most offensive. I mean, I get the most like, wow, because it isn't like aggressive like in a fight kind of thing, but it's what people use in their personal lives too sometimes.
Yeah,
in front of me. It's like very strange.
Yeah, it's not even be quiet. It's
Yeah.
just we have so much. There's so many things that stop us from being open and expressive and connected with each other. And that phrase is one of the go-tos of shutting that down,
yeah.
and it's
Shut.
just, yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible. This last question. This has been fun, hasn't it? It hasn't been terrible, has it?
Has it?
Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Okay. Did you see how he acted? Oh, that's my cat.
She had fun.
I had fun. My cat's having a problem over there. Is she okay? Okay. So I really do want you not to, I want you to, like, full on honesty. Like, full on, no performing, don't look at the camera, talk to me. Ready?
Yeah.
Why do you do that? Why do you look at me like that? Because, you know, you're...
Because does that mean that I'm not usually?
No.
Jewel Walker used to say that. You were like, honestly? And he's like, no, lie to me. Yeah, what do you mean, honestly? Were you not honest with me beforehand?
You said there's 100 kinds of truths.
Yes, that's true.
And I think that you understand that. And
I
I'm
do.
asking for a really, like, seriously, and you've been beautifully open. I don't want to give you that impression. You have been, you've been beautiful and kind. Not that that's surprising. What's the piece of advice you would give yourself as a little person? That you wished, like, knowing what you know now, like, truly, knowing who you are, what do you wish you could say to yourself when you were little?
Yeah, not theater, just life and
Just
stuff.
life. Just you. Like you.
Yeah.
You don't sleep a lot, and I know that. So you think a lot.
Yeah. You know, wish there was something I could say to myself. Certainly in, you know, my 20s, but even my late teens, and when I was overseas, when I was in the Army overseas, I really wish I could have told myself something, some phrase, some word, some beautifully written paragraph to really drive home the fact that you know, other people need and hurt. And it took me a long time to get that. You know, I think for most of my 20s and 30s, yesterday, everything centered here in my experience, you know, and girlfriends and professional relationships. And I wish I could go back again.
Oh, I love this.
No, wait.
What is
no,
this?
hold on. You know what it is? It's Emily in Act 2, where she goes back to the graveyard and she says, they just don't understand, do they?
Yeah.
They just don't understand.
Right.
Because I didn't understand.
Right. Talk about.
Yeah, our town. Mm-hmm. And that's what I wish. I wish I could go back and tell myself, you know, something as cliche as, don't skip that game of Risk with your dad. You know, something that cliche, although very real, you know, sit down with your dad one more time. If I could go back and say, hey, you know, that girl that you were like, you know, this just isn't working out. Could you just recognize that she's really, this is hitting her in a completely different way than it's hitting you. So many things when I was in the service, so many things when I got out, the early years of my marriage with my wife, if I could just never forget that other people need and want as much as I do.
And differently than you do.
Yeah.
That's
and
a
to
hard
respect
record
that,
to
and
me,
differently, yeah. That it's not like, we both recognize the needs here. No. I'm not recognizing yours. If I could get myself to get that, I don't know that I would have been happier. I'm not saying that makes my life happier, but I think I would have been a kinder person.
It's interesting because, Peter, you are one of the kindest, you are one of the most in service to humans I have ever met. And I'm in a family of people who are competing for that medal. And you are one of the most in service to people.
Doesn't feel that way.
Does it feel, what's that mean? Because literally the David Daniel Award is about that. Like, in service to beyond, going above and beyond. Always. Everybody who ever met you, like when we were going to hire you, the people at the school you went to, the grad school you went to, that's all they talked about.
So we've been doing a prison program. Really fantastic. It's great. It's a privilege. It's an honor to work in it. And I remember the first day that I went, I was terrified. I was terrified. It's a whole new group of people that I had limited contact. I'd done a couple of little things here and there, but I didn't know what to expect. And I was very nervous, and I was trying to look calm, trying to look cool and relaxed. And somebody sat down on the front row. One of the men sat down on the front row, and he's wearing his jumpsuit, and he's got tattoos all over this, and he's in there for a reason. And he sat down beside me, and he looked at me, and I was like, hey. I guess, hey. He looked at me, and he said, it's going to be okay. You're going to be all right. And I'm there to bring art to a group of men that, for whatever reason, they have found themselves there. And there's not a lot of opportunity for them to express the human condition in there. And that was my job, is to help them express something. And I was sitting down, and the only thing that was on my mind was like, oh my God, don't let me screw up. And here was a guy that I'm supposed to go and help, and he's there going, you're going to be okay.
I hear you.
And he's reaching out to me, and I'm like, what? I've learned nothing. I've learned nothing. Every day I have to remind myself that...
We all do. We all do. That's good advice, though. That's really good advice. We all do.
And that, I mean, that's one of those moments, you know, that I'm proudest of, because that's the kind of organization I work with, where we have opportunities to do that.
Yeah.
You know, the important work where somebody goes, it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I love you, Dee. Thank you. I do. I really do. I know that's hard for you to believe, but it's true.
I believe it.
I know. All right, I just hit my microphone really hard. Sorry. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.